make sure we live. You see? Should be live on the TV. Make sure. I hate when I do that. I make sure I hit it. Did I hit the live? Okay, yeah, it's still live. Huh? Okay, just find it on here. Then. I can't find it. All right, so let me go ahead and start the memorandum. So we live. All right, let's do this. Can y'all see the screen?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Listen to reason. The following memorandum is the conversation each and every new Nibu of the Ethiopian race should have with New Pu at least once a day, and the name New Pu should be pronounced in mind, whisper, or out loud in the numbers order given and before the conversation starts. Numbers order given creates two ends as you read the name, and the two ends made by reading and pronouncing the name New Pu 9 times stand for New Pu and New. New Pu, 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 New Pu. Remember the promise and covenant with your messenger, and also writer, Afru Unu, and all those who learn, accept, and practice positive nature knowledge and the laws of nature, as explained and described by Noon, your active science of all the worlds. Your promise and also covenant having been duly made are binding as following: economic well-being and liberation of the Ethiopian race, mentally, spiritually, and also physically, because it is the time and cycle for this action for your posterity, the Ethiopian race, and because we all, meaning Ripu, Gipu, and Sipu and all adherents dedicate and obligate the rest of our lives to sound right reason. Who is New Pu? Positive nature knowledge, the laws of nature, also truth, equality, justice and practicing rightness, which is Noon, to the best of our knowledge and also abilities. The time for the Savior has passed. It is now time for the mental resurrection, liberation, justice, judgment, settlement, and balance for all peoples on planet Earth, as promised by the forces of nature and predicted by the ancients and sages of antiquity. New Pu, please cause it to be.
All right. We got through that. Open up some couple of moves. Move that out the way. Move that out the way. All right, so Chuma the Call, Peace and War Times. I'm your host, Jutar Keno Unanupu, and we're here with a special class tonight. I've been working on this a couple hours today, and if it wasn't for this, I'd have been relaxing because I got to work tomorrow. But depending on what the situation was, I said, let me go ahead and take a crack at it. All right, so that's my introduction. True peace.
True peace, cans and friends. I'm Nibu Ray Uno Nupu, proud representative of Noon Science, by way of Nupu that was given to us by our one and only messenger, Afro Unu. Um, Also a proud member of the woolly hair Ethiopian race. And I know this information is gonna be slamming, so I'm just waiting to see what what tonight is gonna bring as far as the information that will be brought forth. True peace.
All right. True peace, all cans and friends. I'm Manute Bunu Nupu. I am a member of the Ethiopian, African, as well as the woolly head race. I'm also a proud representative of Nunu Nupu, given to us by our great and noble messenger, Afro Unu Nupu. And yes, tonight, I already know it's going to be a flaming hot episode. Is going to be one of those that's for the books, as it usually is. So I'm just going to be tonight sitting back relaxing and making sure I take in this information, um, known to us as sunlight, given to us by Tarkinu, who is a very powerful progenitor of sound right reason. So we are gonna get some real good gems tonight, and I hope you all are taking your notes and doing your due diligence and making sure that you are accepting and receiving the information. True peace.
All right, so let's get to the proceedings. I know it's a little late, and I drug the Kens out of their quarters to witness the beatings. I don't like to beat people alone. I like to have witnesses. It's always good to have a few witnesses to witness the beatings, so somebody can say they was beat perfectly and not unjustly. All right, so let me know if y'all can see that.
Yes, I can see it.
All right, so this one is called Tar Responds to a Saru Nelson. All right, written by Ripu Jutar Kinunu Nupu, New Ethiopian year 63, Nupu Mental year 99, 11/16/2025. The sun is in 24 degrees in Scorpio, second deacon 36 minutes and 5 seconds. How long until April 13, 2029? 3 years, 4 months, 27 days, 6 hours, 38 minutes, and 26 seconds on a Friday. All right. Listen to Soundray Cosmic Reason. 6 hours ago, a cult member, a follower of David Dwight York / Dr. York, who is not a doctor of any status that is recognized in reality, commented under a live called 9 Ball 2 Alien Education Part 2. All right. So this is a live that Anoop was actually on. He was actually going through the 9 ball. All right. So I said I wasn't going to respond because they are all robots that say the same thing as if on remote. However, I have the time today, so here goes. All right, this is the gentleman, and like I said, he didn't do anything but post out of a book that they called The Proof. All right, so it's crazy because he posts the name of the book, but the proof start out with lies. So I say actual fact, Paul, Thabit B, partner Bob, Yananan, the proof by will, partner Bob, Yanun, Dr. Malachi York, Grand, born Tuesday, June 26, 1945 AD, Ghana, Africa, series number 108, page 109, verse 672. He's quoting from this book here. And I just noticed this just now. Tell me if y'all can see what I see.
Yeah, I see the actual fact.
You see the who?
Isn't that the book, Actual Facts?
Yeah, but I'm saying, look on the cover. What stands out of everything on that cover?
6-pointed star.
There you go. You got the Jewish star on the book. He's still going. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting loud. He's still going with this the Kabbalahism. He's still going. got a naked woman on the top. Remember, we was just talking about the sex yesterday. The Yesar. See, you still got the sex in there, got the alien over there in the top right. Because the alien is mankind in their ways. That's the alien. But look, he got a black woman up here pregnant, covering her breasts up with all of the major world dead religions at the bottom.
And then also, do you see right up in here where it showed the upright monkey to man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of this. Boy, I tell you. All right. The first lie is Mr. York saying he was born in Ghana, Africa. All right. Here's his Boston birth certificate. All right. So we have to, when I seen all of this, that's why it took me a couple hours to surgically put together a masterpiece. So I wanted, I already had all this stuff. So you can see Suffolk, Boston. The place where his people stayed at was 162. All right. It said mothers away before delivery. All right. So all this stuff over because his father was David P. York, not that guy that he claimed overseas. All right. That was a Muslim royal. All right. He got his mother, same address as the man she was with, David Piper York. And York was named after his father, David. That's why he's called David Dwight York. All right. He was born at 9:10 p.m., all of that stuff. So it's just a bunch of lies that these people like to tell. All right. Let's watch a short video by the great Chuck Morgan exposing these mentally dead followers spellbound by Mr. York's Kabbalah magic of dumbness. All right. So I'm going to click on that. All right, let me share my screen. Let me know when y'all can see the screen.
I can see it.
All right. Let's go.
Where was your father born? Because there's a lot of controversy over where he was born. People saying that he was born in Sudan, and the story sounds good, but I think based on the fact that we found birth certificates and records, where was Dr. York actually born?
First and foremost, you didn't find anything. My father's birth certificate, I have to keep telling people this. They keep thinking we. Who is the we who found it? Who found it? Chuck Morgan. Okay, so how long has Chuck Morgan been active? Since what day, what year, you know?
As far as what? Active as far as what?
Like how long has he been exposing that?
I don't know.
Okay. Chuck Morgan's been so-called exposing that since like 2014, 2013. The book, Let's Set the Record Straight, my father wrote with the birth certificate from Boston in it, came out in 1994. You did not find it. He put it out and you took it. And he explained that my father was born in Takoradi, Ghana.
There was a small enclave of peace in the village of Umdurman, the African continent, Sudan. It was June 26, 1945 AD, midnight to be exact. Far from the talk of war and false promises of peace, that a young woman by the name of Fatima Miriam, who was born in the city of Philadelphia, March 10, 1925 AD, gave birth to the son of a young Sudanese man, the grandson of the Mahdi Muhammad Ahmed, son of Abdullah. The young Fatima Miriam went into labor on June 25, 1945 AD, right before midnight. At exactly 12 o'clock a.m., midnight, she gave birth to a son, June 26, 1945 AD. No birth certificate was issued because this was not yet the law of Sudan. However, the records of birth were recorded in the Hall of Records. While she comforted her newborn, the light of peace glowed from his countenance and put the darkness to flight. The lights in the sky hovered over the sleeping village as nocturnal insects hummed happily. Just as the wise men came to visit the Messiah Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him, at his birth, so did the angelic beings come to see the boy born under the stars. Surely, this was the night our Savior was born.
So I went on back to Sudan, Melody. Wow.
See, he said he went all the way back to Sudan. Sudan and Ghana are two different places. I'm gonna run it back because this, this never gets old. These dummies just keep repeating this lie.
So I went on back to Sudan, Melody. وأخذت شهاداتي ولدي and got my birth certificate. Had to go back to the files and hunt it down. Because I was born in 1945 when they did everything by hand. There was no computers. I can't tell you what I had to go through the Hall of Records. But as an Ansar, the most recognized clan in Sudan, it made it easy. And when Sayyid Sadiq, the prime minister, standing beside me, it made it a little easier than it would have cost you. You follow? So I went and got the birth certificate and I printed a book and I said, here's my birth certificate in the book. Oh, he made that up. It got the seal of Sudan on it. He got the signature of the man who approved it. When I had to get, you have to get a photostat copy, not giving you the original, they give you with a seal. Oh, he made that up.
Now comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready?
Ready!
So this is the first part. So we just debunked that lie with his dumbass son gonna go on some nigga and talk about his daddy was born in Ghana. When we got the birth certificate for Boston and this Negro was out lying in the 90s talking about he was born in the Sudan. How you born in three places at one time? But this is the cult membership madness that I'm always talking about. And that dude should have never came under my video with this dumbass book. But we're gonna keep dismantling. All right. So now I say here's a more in-depth look into this lie on the wappianism.com. All right, so we're gonna click on that. Let me set it up real quick. Okay, no wappianism.com. Okay, there it goes. It just popped up. So let me get down to that part. Okay. All right. Just had to go through the article real quick. Let me know when y'all can see that.
Yes, I can see it.
All right, the Ansar cult rebuttal to the slanders, page 55 through 56. Asayed al-Imam Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi was born in 1945 in the Sudan, 100 years after the birth of Asayed al-Imam Ahmad al-Mahdi, his great-grandfather of Sunni descent. See, all this is lies. Or the trial or the Dungala way, Asayed al-Imam Ahmad al-Mahdi has done a great deal. Malachi, the True Story of Noah, page 93. Even right here. Our rabbi traveled the world. Look at the filthy Kabbalah. The filthiest of the filthy. He studied in, I can't because Chuck got this thing out, so I can't. He studied in something in Egypt, Sudan, and America. He's a specialist in ancient Semitic language.
Universities.
Okay, universities. Okay, in Egypt, Sudan, and America, which is a lie because when they did the pre-sentence investigation, the PSI, when they get extra deep background, York did not graduate past the 9th grade. They had no record of these places York was lying about when he was out, about his study overseas. This Negro was in no university. All right, he was in the University of Leviathan. That was it. That's where he got all his degrees at. All right. He was born June 26, 1945, to Al Sayyid El Hadi Abdul Rahman Al Makti of Nubia, Sudan. But according to Prince York and all of them, they say he was born in Ghana. How is this contradiction making any sense if y'all supposed to be having all the facts? These are pure lies. All right. Mary C. York, Fatima, rest in peace, of America. He's a dynamic speaker, blah, 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 blah. All right. The fact shows that Malachi York was not born in Tekoridai, Ghana, West Africa. He was born Tuesday, June 26, 1945 at 9:10 p.m. in Boston, Massachusetts. This is from the information supplied by York's mother, Mary C. Williams, maiden name, rest in peace, and Mary C. York, rest in peace, at the time of his birth, married to David Piper York, both living together at 162 Harold Street, Boston, Massachusetts, USA. This will be explained in greater detail in a moment. This is the house. All right? So you're sitting here and these dummies is still peddling false information, and this dumb clown been locked up for 20 years, and they still running with this lie. And you got video footage and books all the way back to the 70s where York was saying he was from the Sudan. Out of his own mouth. Then he said, when a craft shine brightly above all through, how can a star shine so bright on a cloudy night? Ayanu descended from it and entered her womb. She felt no pain in the childbearing. She uttered no sounds. This is pure crack cocaine addiction with heroin. This is what this foolishness we hear. Here we have York claiming that upon his birth, there was a spacecraft shining brightly, and how he, Malachi York, jumped into his mother's womb. How you gonna jump into the womb? If you're a spirit, you're gonna just go through the stomach. What you mean you jumped in the womb?
Too much Hollywood.
Oh man, this is dumb. Where she felt no pain and was silent, she gave birth. Who gives birth with no sound? Man, come on, man. This jumping into a womb is 1611 biblical language that we find in the Bible. And it came to pass that when Elizabeth heard the salutation of Mary, the babe leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Ghost. Luke 1:41. See, this is how you know he was a psycho. Just all this religion, and he just made up a whole thing about his birth because he was born and his father was a pimp. For y'all who don't know that, if you go through Chuck's site, Chuck got a lot of information from one of York's daughters that gave him all that information, pictures, ancestry, all of that. York's father was a pimp. And you know what they made his mama. All right? All of that stuff was there. And that's why York grew up just like that movie with what his name is, Richard Pryor, Jojo Dancer, Your Life is Calling You, where he lived in a whole house. All right? This is what York's origin was. All right? This is the real deal. Y'all talking about the proof. He gonna put a book that ain't the proof. That's a lie. I'm giving you the proof tonight. You're going to get the proof. All right? She was called Fatima. Her name at birth was Mary Abba Okran of West Lawn to Carteret. A whole lie. His mama name was Mary Cassie Williams. How the hell you change your mama name to Mary Abba Okran? What is this nigga smoking? And this is stuff he came up with after he went to jail. Mind you, this was not on the outside. He did this when he went to jail. That means he had extra time on his hands. All right, and the old True Light narration audio tape called The Reformer, released by Malachi, recorded at York Studios on Hart Street in Brooklyn, New York. The narrator says it was June 26, 1945. He just going to this whole thing, lying about his mom and stuff. I just hate when I have to get into this stuff that involves his mother, rest in peace, because she passed. And I don't really like to go on that, but this is what he created. He mixed people in that are no longer here, and it's an ugly situation. All right, so it's right here, The Reformer, where he talks about the record of his birth and all that. We already got that video, so we ain't got to go through that. All right, let's not forget the fact that York said years ago that his mentor, Sheikh Dawud Ahmad Fossil, issued him an Islamic birth certificate, and on that certificate, the birthplace is not Ghana. It's Boston, Massachusetts. And he lists York's mother as American, not Ghanaian. Or the Wappers going to go now and say Sheikh Dawud was a part of the conspiracy too. See, name, Isa Allah Muhammad. Look, right here, Boston, Massachusetts, USA. See, David D. York, that's his father's name. Mother's name, Mary C. York. And he got right here, Nubian American. Come on, man. Anyone still believing their nonsense has to ask themselves this question. If Mary C. York was born in 1929, why then does her family have 1924 as the year of her birth? It's even on her gravestone. This is the foolishness that these cult members do. And they don't care about how many lies they got to tell to keep you feeling like they were sent the greatest of the great. And all he was a filthy con man and a sexual deviant. Leviathan's great puppet. All right, let's get back to this. Let me know when y'all can see this good stuff.
Can see it.
All right, let's continue. 672. Now, this is a part of the screenshot from under the video. He says the three used in breeding with the Adamites. Canine is a wolf, 78 chromosomes. Porcine is a pig, 38 chromosomes. Simian equals a baboon, 48 chromosomes. This is what he's telling these dummies, that y'all humans were mixed with the genes of a wolf, a pig, and a baboon. What is he smoking? This is the dumbest. He done outdid the Caucasian with this. Tall ass deep sea. Mr. York made these claims. Can you confirm or deny a canine wolf, 78 chromosomes, a porcine pig, 38 chromosomes, and a simian baboon, 48 chromosomes? Because I got to go into this thing a whole nother route. Explanation, this is incorrect. A simian is a term for monkeys and apes, which includes baboons. However, baboons, genus Papio, have 42 chromosomes, not 48. The number 48 is famous for being the chromosome count for our closer relatives, the great ape, chimpanzee, gorillas, orangutan, before the human lineage fused a pair to give us our count of 46. Tall ass deep sea. Let me also add what Mr. York says. Caucasian people have the genetics of a canine, pig, and simian. Genetically, how closely to these animals are Caucasians chromosome-wise for each individually, and how far they're away from each animal? I need a clean chart, please. Deep Seek responds, of course, let's address Mr. York's new claim and provide a clear scientific breakdown. First and most importantly, The claim that Caucasian people have the genetics of a canine, pig, and simian is not scientifically valid and is a form of racist pseudoscience. It misrepresents basic genetics to support a false and harmful ideology. All humans, regardless of ethnicity, share the same set of genes and same chromosomes, count 46. The genetic difference between human populations are incredibly minor, accounting for far less than 1% of our total DNA. Here's a factual chart comparing human genetics to animals mentioned based on modern genomics. Genetic comparison of human versus other species. The Homo sapien humans 46, 100% baseline. Evolutionary divergence, Thompson's common answer, not available. On the Papio, baboon simian, 42 chromosomes, 90% genetic similarity to humans, 25 to 30 million years ago. Canis lupus, wolf, 78 chromosomes, 84% similarity to humans, 96 million years ago. All these numbers are way off. All right, the sus scrofa, the pig or the porcine, 38 chromosomes, 84% genetic similarity to humans, 96 million years ago. All right, key takeaway from the chart. At 93% similarity, baboons are our closest relative on this list because we are both primates. However, this still means we are 7% genetically different, which represent tens of millions of individual genetic variations. Distant relatives, wolf and the pig. Wolves and pigs are equally distant from humans genetically, 84% similar. We share a more distant common ancestor with them, a early mammal. The difference in chromosome number 78 in wolves versus 38 in pigs is irrelevant to this comparison. What matters is the information the genes carry. The most important fact, the genetic difference between any two humans on Earth are vanishingly small. The variation within any human population is vastly greater than the average genetic difference between population between Caucasian, African, East Indian, etc. To put it in perspective, you are genetically 99.9 identical to every other person on the planet. The 15% difference between you and a pig is 150 times greater than the genetic difference between you and a person of any other ethnicity. Conclusion, Mr. York conditional chromosome count for the animals were mostly accurate, but his subsequent claim about Caucasian genetics is genetically nonsense. All right, nonsensical and rooted in racism, not science. All humans are a single closely related species fundamentally separate from the other animals listed. Let me see here. All right, let me go. All right, Todd speaks. Before we move on to Mr. York's blatant lies and contradictions, I've said multiple times that creation, Noah's story, and Adam and Eve and all the events only happened one time. Mr. York changes these things like Beyonce changes clothes between sets of their concerts. Let's remind these mentally dead slaves of Mr. York, this quote mostly was referring to the Caucasian race. All right, talking about the canine, the pig, and the baboon. Mr. York just took what Elijah Muhammad said about the pig being created from the rat, cat, and the dog. Who wants to eat the combination of these fleshes, cat, rat, and the dog? This is what the hog is made of, a dog, cat, and rat. And the biblical teaches you that the Bible teaches you that he is from a mouse. Read Isaiah 6:17. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. Tal responds, when did Elijah Muhammad first teach this about the pig on record? Deep Sea Heat. The doctrine of the pig being a hybrid animal was first formally published in Elijah Muhammad's seminal work, The Message of the Black Man, which was published in 1965. This book is a comprehensive collection of his core teachings, and it is here that the Yaqub history narrative is laid out in its most complete and authoritative form, including the creation of the pig. Here's a more detailed breakdown. Our oral teachings likely 1930s through the 50s. It is almost certain that Elijah Muhammad was teaching this concept order to his followers long before it was published in 1965. He began his ministry in the early 30s after the disappearance of his teacher, Master Fard Muhammad, Wallace Fard Muhammad, who is credited with originating the Yaqub story. The core narrative of Yaqub was part of the Nation Islam oral tradition for decades, first printed record 1965. While the idea was circulating for years, message to the black man served as the first definitive, publicly available, and official on-record source with a specific claims about the period origin is printed and codified as doctrine. To our response, as we see, this is not what is in the book of Isaiah chapter 66, 17. The Nation of Islam has been speaking this lie for almost 92 years, and this is a great example how spirits control the mind to the point they cause a human being's logic to overlook something as clear as there is no statement that even suggests the pig is a mixture of either animals, and there is no dog in this quote. This is called innovation or just plain making things up. Back to what the Bible interpretation book says about the Caucasian race. Let us see, what were the results of breaking the commandment law for the sun god? The priests and nuns called Adam and Eve were sent to the Asian islands between Asia and Europe, where they started having children. And each couple's firstborn child was an albino, and those albinos are called Cain in the Bible, and Cain is short for Caucasian. Adam and Eve had more children, and those born after Cain were called Abel. Abel was black like his and her parents, but of course, East Indians have straight hair. The children called Cain grew up envying and hating the children called Abel, and as a result, a conflict developed between the two groups. And Cain, aided by the moon god, killed Abel. The older people left alive demanded that Cain be sent away for his and her evil doings. When the moon god, the god who beguiled Eve, appeared to the leader of the Cain group in a dream, Genesis the 4th chapter. Side note, although we Nunaboos know Mr. York did not write these books because he was a deviant, crime-minded Muslim gang member, according to Mr. York's older brother Obar. Plus, Mr. York was in jail from 1964 to 1967, late of that year. All right, you can go to Chuck Joint. I just pulled this off his site. Ashton Watkins, where was Malachi York between the years 1964 and 1967? The truth of the matter is simple. York was arrested on October the 24th, 1964, age 19, remained in New York State custody, and was sentenced on July 13, 1965 for 3 years till he was paroled October the 20th, 1967, attending weekly meetings with his parole officer and completely free from the penal system September 16, 1968. All right, so this is his records from when he was in jail, when they pulled all this stuff out, the PSI, the pre-sentence investigation, his docket number, see his name, Dwight D. York, docket number 502CR27001, 7/13/1964, assault 3rd degree. All right, 7/13/64, we got 3 months. The defendant reported that he was represented by counsel. The circumstance of the offense could not be obtained from the King County Criminal Court. However, the defendant related that the charge was ordered from an altercation with several individuals. So he was a gang member, and they was always in the street fighting, okay? But he was a Muslim since he was saying about 12 years old or earlier. So he was running around as a filthy Muslim, being a gang member, fighting and stealing. And we ain't gonna forget, he also called a statutory rape, right? 10/24/64, felony assault, right? 3 years in jail, possession of a dangerous weapon, zip gun, count 3, resisting an officer, count 4, disorderly conduct, all right? Parole, discharge. The defendant reported that he was represented by counsel. The circumstance of the offense could not be obtained. We read that already. It said Kings County Criminal Court, however, the defendant related that the charge would result of attempted retaliation in reference to the prior assault charge occurring on July 13, 1964. This is the same thing that happened to Prince York when they arrested him for beating his stepson, and he started resisting arrest and getting violent with the cops. So they pretty much similar, filthy. All right, so we got all this stuff again. Possession of false identification with attempt to defraud the United States. This is in 1987. Age 44, this Negro was walking around with a fake ID. Intent to defraud the United States, U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York. Docket number 88CR0076. Go look it up. Consecutive, he had to go and they would let him out during the weekends in jail. How you got all of this and you still was able to, he was able to still, I think he turned himself in on the weekends. I think that's how it was, either that or vice versa. So you know this agent behavior because he's been a criminal since he was in his teens. How you get locked up for this and you go to jail only on the weekend? Or vice versa. I think it was on the weekend. Yeah, that's what it was. He went to jail on the weekend. They wouldn't see him on the weekend, and then he'll pop up during the week. All right, in jail, $10,000 fine. The defendant was represented by counsel. Counsel document reflected on October the 7th, 1987. The defendant submitted a passport application alleging his name and identity as Issa El Hadi El Makdi. Bruce LaRoche appeared with the defendant and signed an affidavit identifying the defendant as El Hadi El Makdi. A birth certificate was submitted from the state of Pennsylvania, also identifying York as El Hadi El Makdi. The birth certificate was found to have been issued to what? A white male identified as William Martin Tripers. Why is York walking around with a white man's identity? This is niggatry. See the cult member, the cult leader, been a criminal way back. So if he walking around faking his ID, walking with somebody else's name, that's why he stole all these people's identities. Just like he stole Afro-Uno identity. This is normal to this Negro. On October 8, 1987, the defendant and LaRoche returned to the passport office. York was questioned by a U.S. custom agent. Upon being read his Miranda rights, York bolted out of the office and attempted to flee. LaRoche attempted to obstruct the defendant's arrest and wrestled with agents. York was apprehended and was found to have in his possession $4,021 in a New York State driver license and credit cards in the name of Issa Muhammad. He also possessed a U.S. passport in the name of Issa Abdullah Allah Ida Abdul Bakr Muhammad with an expiration date of March 30th, 1993. You see, he's been a filthy criminal since way back. York confirmed his incarceration when he said many Sunni Muslims will say, I know him. I remember him in 1965 when he came into the State Street and took his Shahada. A brother Luke gave it to him. First of all, I was in Sajin in 1965. I was in prison in 1965. I didn't get out to 1967, so you got it. So you got wrong information again. So of course I went and got the YouTube. All right, so we're gonna start it around 4 minutes in. Let me stop sharing. Anoot, you all right? You still there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me know if y'all can see that.
Yep, can see it.
All right, now, you listen good. He gonna tell you he was in jail during his time because Negro Wabians always try to act like he had a clean-cut history. He was a filthy criminal.
Especially in the book of Malachi, where I speak about him, Malachi 3, chapter 1, that he'll be paving that way for my coming. That's why I was called Rabboni. Rabboni means Lord. Rabboni, the master. Arab, the Lord, the teacher. I was to come after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He paved a way for me. Think on that. Think on my works, my actions, and think on how much I'm being aggressive. The only reason why there's 4 chapters in the book of Malachi is because it represents the 400 years of your bondage, which is mentioned in Genesis chapter 15 that I taught you about, and that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the messenger, taught you about. Think on all that before you start coming out against me, and I've been sent as your master teacher in this last day and time. You understand? That man, the being who talked to me, gave me a different outlook on life. He opened me up. I never understood what they meant by the chest of Prophet Muhammad was opened up and his heart was washed and put back in. I was a criminal. And they know, so I have a right to check me out. They said, that guy there was a criminal. I don't know how he learned all the stuff he knows. I'm a right. When I got arrested, they said, who are you? What are you? Put that fingerprint down again so you can make sure you're from here. Where'd you come from? Are you the same man that's been out there running around calling himself this or calling himself that? Are you the same kid that we used to know? Where'd you get all this information? How come you know everything? And some more. I laughed and smiled. They couldn't believe that's the same guy. You know, many Sunni Muslims used to say, you know, I know him. I remember him in 1965 when he came into State Street and took his Shahada. A brother Lukman gave it to him. First of all, I was in Sijin in 1965. I was in prison in 1965. I didn't get out until 1967.
So he's telling you right there, he was in prison. He tried to be slick and say, I was in Sijin. Sijin is an Arabic word in the Quran for hell. But he was locked up in 64, all the way to 67 for all this stuff that he was doing. Again, but they talking about he's the master teacher, Rabboni. Get out of here. He should be ended right back up in jail because that's where a lot of them like to go. They love to keep going back to jail for that bussy. Now, let me know when y'all can see that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, we will pretend Mr. York wrote these books and you see there's nothing about cloning Caucasians from aliens and 3 types of animals. They had human parents 6,062 years ago. This contradicts the Sabian, the Wabi, and Moonset code of Kabbalah as we have been teaching you. The Bible interpretation explained that Adam and Eve were a group of Hindu priests and nuns, that Abel was Hindu, Black Dravidian siblings, and that Cain were albino siblings. Yet Mr. York, following the spell of the Bible, and altered the storyline of what the Bible interpretation said and made both Abel a group and Cain a group, both dark-skinned. Niggatry. So you got Cain on the side, Abel on the other side. Then Mr. York makes Cain and albino with kinky hair when the Bible interpretations and the nature book says Noah's flood was an event, not a person. So that was all symbolic. Also, we have proven Canaan and Ham was actually the Phoenician Arab race, Shem was the East Indians, and Japheth is the Mongolian race, aka Gog and Magog. The 3 sons of Noah, Noah was the spirit evolution forces, where Ham the Phoenicians, Shem the Hindus, and Japheth the Mongolians. By the name Mongolians meant people like the Chinese and Japanese. The Phoenicians, Ham, the Hindus, Shem, and the Mongolian Japheth are the fathers and mothers of all mankind. Bible Interpretation Explanation Booklet 1, number 14 in part. Here you got York that made Noah, which was an event, a person. Foolishness. They got Canaan on the other side, an albino with woolly hair. Non-ether conscious and conscientious gases. The Ethiopian race in person of what? The African pygmies came along with original creation. That is the same kind of ether forces that grew the universe, also grew the dwarf Ethiopians of the pygmies. Therefore, the pygmies and their evolutionary descendants, which are us, are the personification of the original creative forces. To put it another way, the African pygmies created the universes and their spirit form, non-ether, then personify themselves as flesh and blood beings. The Bible Interpretation Book 2. These books say nothing about aliens creating the African black race. This is proof Mr. York changes history, languages, and stores around to keep lies going. There's no Ninti or Inky according to non-ether science called Noon. Yet Mr. York tells his mentally dead slaves they were created by hermaphrodite gay aliens who mixed their DNA with monkeys. All right, so here goes some of the pictures out of the unholy tablets. You got the figure on the right is the genus Homo, and then the one on the right is the Homo erectus. And this is supposed to be the finished product right here, the Homo sapien. Y'all see this foolishness?
Yep.
All right. Mr. York tell his flock where he got the inspiration for his two monkey pictures. Now, the one on the left, me doing some research, I seen where he got it from. Look, nicknamed the Handyman, discovered date 1960. Where they live eastern and southern Africa. But you can look at this, the same thing. And this picture is old. And in fact, he put it in here and didn't even cite the sources. You can see Mr. York had the hair face altered in the drawing. He is a Photoshop king and copy and paste deceiver. Look at the face, look at the nose. Straight foolishness. Then he got the Homo erectus. He got that from the Southern Ape. Let's continue here. We will see the plagiarizing of the nature books written by Afro Unu once again, but highly remixed. Now look at this. Unity, concentration, revelation, divine rules by our Salafu ancestors that keeps the divine Najam order by Kayus reason from the beginning of the Big Bangs to form or Kalei Makwan at Omniverse to this Wahoo Makwan universe of absolute Fata Ya Fata, natural nature. This right here is a filthy spell. Now look what he did. Now he jacked this right out of the nature book. Look. Now compare the plagiarizing clowns' writings to Afro-Un's writing to Introduction to the Nature of Nature, Book 1, letter E, page 9. Look. Unity. Concentration. Same word. Unity. Concentration. Revelation. Look. Then he changed it from law to divine rules by our ancestors, law and ending, and then he put Big Bang in there, see, and continue there like this forever each time the universe of absolute nature exists. See, he changed it, but he kept from the beginning of the universe. See, but he took the universe and put the Big Bangs in there. Look at this. Look at this foolishness. Pure deception and plagiarism.
And then he really throwed his followers off because he added in the filthy Islam Arabic.
Right.
Crap.
That's all this is. This is corrupt Arabic.
Yeah.
This how deviant his mind is. This is why York's followers are enemies to sound right reason themselves and Nunibus. Anyone who sits and denied Afro Uno, then put his picture in their Brooklyn PDF file temple after Newton and myself went there February 12th, 2015, or confronted them about plagiarizing the nature books. All right. So you can see right here in the bookstore, Afro Uno picture in the background. But I'm going to hit this link real quick so y'all can see. It should take us right on in there. All right, hold on. It's loading up. All right, where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Okay, here we go. Just let it, all right, let me share the screen. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, let me know when y'all can see. Y'all can see it?
Yes.
All right. It says me and Nanu Nupu went by Bushwick Avenue yesterday to cop some books and kick it with the Wobbins for about 3 hours. They filmed it, so they will put it out when they are ready. So this is just showing that me and Nanu went there. Bushwick Avenue, strong bill.
I want to see the logo. I know it was over. Right.
Yeah, just want to get a nice little view spot. It's been I ain't been here since 2000 and maybe 10. I think I came in with this. So this is, and the new had his son Prominence at the time. He was still young, and we was here. That's when I first met Earl, February of 2015. And the whole store was empty when me and the Nuke went in there. When they realized who we was, the Wobbins was coming in from everywhere, from outside, to the point that me and the Nuke had to split to do bills with them. I was debating Earl. I showed Earl personally Afro Unu's obituary, and he act like he didn't know what I was talking about. He swore to God he ain't never heard of Afro Unu. As soon as we left, they started slandering and lying. But this is proof that we went up into y'all nasty, dirty PDF file temple and told y'all was wrong. And then years later, y'all put the man picture up in there and then act like that thing was good. This is a better close-up. Y'all see that?
Yeah, we see it.
All right. This is the great late Afro Uno. This is obituary. Because we getting tired of y'all still pretending like y'all don't know what y'all did. And y'all done stole this man information up to date and threw the man picture in there next to another person that York didn't like. York didn't like Yahweh being Yahweh. He talked trash about Martin Luther King too. But he had a lot of people up there on that wall that were sex offenders and harming black people. Yahweh being Yahweh was taking people's apartments in Florida and killing them and taking over whole complexes. Why would you have a murderer up here inside your temple? Then put in a book giving Afro credit for bringing New Wapu after Mr. York line that he brought New Wapu since 1993, then spelled his name wrong. And you can find this in another of they filthy books, The Harvest. All right, go to number 173, and I read, they saw as of the year 2000 AD that what I began to teach was one unlike any other black leader. That's a lie. You're a plagiarizer. So they watched and waited to see if it was Wu Sabat 175. Look, they knew about what? Nwapu of Afro Unu. They spelled his name wrong, but they still said it. So the point is, y'all still stealing, and y'all been making millions off of Nwapu, which is the Bible interpretation and the noun balls, and he built a cult in the 90s. Even though Afro had moved on with more of the nature books in their right form, and he then went to prison and still been stealing and putting this stuff in their books. All right. Here's the final plagiarizing quote from this cult member who is obviously ignorant to who he's talking to. Look at this. Look at this. This ain't even hidden. The proper and scientific attribute of sound, right, reason, and fact is Nupu, N-U-P-U. Then he spells the name correct, N-O-O-P-O-O-H, pronounced Nupu. The creation, energy, reason is intellect, intelligence, revelation, inspiration from outformation, outspiration, and that becomes the very best mind. Look at this nigga. The nature books clearly is written this way. The proper and scientific name of sound, right, reason. This nigga got and scientific attribute. This is showing you what type of nigga you dealing with. Sound, right, reason is indeed Nupu. N-O-O-P-O-O-H, pronounced Nupu. He done changed it to the old way on the 9 balls, which is N-U-P-U. The creation energy, reason is intellect, intelligence, revelation, inspiration, and best mind. Where you get outformation, outspiration. That becomes sound, right, reason is the best mind. It doesn't become the best mind. It is the best mind. Introduction to the Nature, Book 1, number F, page 9. And that concludes my presentation. So I already know y'all got something to say about that. That just pissed me off, getting back at that at the end. But go ahead.
Wow. He shouldn't have never opened his mouth to even say some crap like he got the proof. The proof of what? The proof that he been lying to y'all all these years after he been locked up. And then what really tops it off is that after he got locked up, that's when everything switched over from where he was born at, because they couldn't use that old information. So they had to they had to create a whole different plethora of where he was born. And I'm like, it's just crazy how they went about it.
That's because they was running with the Liberia, and he was a diplomat. And when that fell flat on his face for a couple of years, then he tried to come back with it again. And then they tried to, remember Deucin, he put out a book, Deucin went over there and created a fake birth certificate and all that stuff for Ghana.
Yeah, I remember Deucin. I remember Deucin doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, all that was a money grab. That was just a scam so they can keep money coming in and keeping us food. All right, I know you got something to say.
Oh man, that was a lot to even revisit that madness of mental illness that runs rampant through that cult, man. That's it's terrible, you know. But that just goes, for me personally, that just goes to show you that that there's always going to be opposition to sound, right, reason being born on the planet, just to use a biblical aspect of it, because we'll be doing the biblical series pretty soon, and this is the baby that's born a giant. And remember, in the book of Revelations, they didn't want the baby to be born. At any cost, they were trying to stop the baby from being born. And this is what you're seeing, is Leviathan stopping that baby or that child from being born, which is sound, right, reason. On the 80th go round, the baby won't be born. The baby will be born, but it won't come to fruition as it should be. But this time around, Nupu was born a mental giant, as Afro said in book 3, and it will grow and grow and grow and grow. But there will be some opposition, and that York was a direct opposition commissioned by Leviathan himself. He was a special uh uh he was a special one, and that's the only way he's special, because he was a criminal. He was a criminal. He was a special head case because he wore many different hats. You saw the guy. I saw you brought out the picture with him as a rabbi over there, looking like a nasty, filthy rabbi. He got the 6-pointed star. He got the crescent. This man, he's a gumbo of every. He's the op. He's the all the Transformers mixed in one. This man is the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger Megazord. He is the he is the one. You know what I'm saying? So Leviathan chose his opposition, but it's nothing that we can't defeat as as the ones that are pushing sound right reason to its fullest extent. And I've watched people who claim to be Noonie Boos back York up. Even as being Noonie Boos, they but York brought Nawapa. We would have never had Nawapu. No, York did a disservice to Nawapu. Had Nawapu been able to do what it was supposed to do, it would have been unfiltered without the madness that York brought to it.
Yeah.
That's the
And
reason. Yeah, go ahead.
now I was just gonna say the spell would have been broken.
Yeah, yeah, it would have been much easier, and the ones that are in the cult right now would have been some of the most powerful teachers of Noon, but it got usurped, and now we've got much less than what we had before, and now we have to unravel that madness. And on top of that, there's gonna be fights against Christians and Muslims, and I'm not talking about literal fights, but I'm talking about knowledge fights that will take place, because to break belief is a powerful thing to do. But yeah, and even going back to the birth situation, like that's just so clear as day. Like, and then they don't even address that. Like, yo, why y'all said Sudan first, and then why y'all turn around and then say Ghana, and then the birth certificate says Boston. Y'all said, oh, the birth. Then he gonna sit up there and say, oh yeah, he tried to make a joke out of it, but you did try to create your own birth certificate. You did try to make it up. This is a sick, mentally ill Negro. I mean, they did diagnose him with schizophrenia and some other
Four
things in there.
four stages of it.
Yeah, so that, and schizophrenia just means that he had multiple spirits inside of him. As he did, he played the moon god, this god, he had multiple different forces inside of him. So that's probably where it's probably and that's why he probably made it so believable, because those spirits were probably were born in those locations the same time as him, and they formed the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers inside of his mind. So this is what we're noticing and seeing. But enough about him. That was a amazing episode, amazing breakdown. That was, as always, I love to see the comedy hour with York and his cronies, and I love, when Tar make him look foolish. You know what I'm saying? It's and shout out to Chuck, for the great research that he's done over the years, him and his team over there that put together the Nawapianism.com. Shout out to them for keeping that website up, because I know Chuck, at one point in time was gonna gonna take it down and fully retire from it. But I'm thankful that it's still up there because it allows people to see the spell that's being placed upon the people. So that was, like I said, that was a great breakdown. Shout out to Tar for that. And I'll be back very soon. I'm right now I'm trying to create a different format of how I'm presenting the non-ball and the other classes that I have, but it won't be too much longer. I just have to figure out some things on how to create the presentation in a much more cleaner and much more seamless format, because for me and for you it will be much more helpful to even put it in book form, as Tar and them continuously keep telling me to do. Is like, yo, come on, we need to put this in book form. So I don't want to lose the opportunity of not being able to put it in book form and having a nice, clean, and seamless presentation for you all, because you deserve it. All right. All right. And always remember that the greatest gift that you can give someone is liberation information. And that with that being said, the greatest information or liberation information to date on the planet is Noon Science. And you can find that on our websites, noponoon.com and fine9news.com. And they are authored by Afro Unu, and they're also have our symbols, as you can see on this broadcast with the N with the circle. That is our symbol. The original colors are the blue, green, black, and red with the gray outline. The other colors that you see on my particular screen just happens to be the top half of what what vegetation and what the aerial atmosphere and things like that, what color and rendition they would be, as opposed to the bottom half. To the top half, you would have a what you call a purplish lilac sea color and atmosphere color. The green for vegetation would turn to rust red, and all the other colors will remain the same. So there's no alterations being done. That's just creative insight that was given to me by Sound Right Reason. But that's all I have to say on this one. It was, like I said, once again, amazing show. And shout out to all of those who have used Sound Right Reason to break this particular spell that York has provided to the people in a wrong manner. And I hope that Nawabians who are seeing this can listen to reason and see the light of day. As a matter of fact, one Nawabian reached out to me. I won't say his name, and he mentioned to me that he sees with Sound Right Reason now, and sees what is taking place as far as what York has done. So hopefully he can study the books and become a pillar in the community, as we have become pillars and noble Noonie Boos in the community. So that's all I have to say. True peace.
All right, true peace, everybody. That was good. It's 12 o'clock.
True
Been here
peace.
about an hour, 13 minutes and 40 some seconds. So we are holler.